It doesn't really matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter, how long it takes you. None of that matters. What matters is that you actually do the first deal.
Today I'm joined by Ryan Corcoran, founder of Specialized Property Group. Ryan has done flips, wholesales, development, alongside primarily multifamily buy and hold transactions. So he owns property in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Georgia. He's a young guy, has done extremely well in a short amount of time, and I can't wait to jump right in as I have a ton of questions for him. Welcome, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Appreciate it. This should be fun.
I was obviously on your podcast, and I had fun with that.
Yeah, I have to return the favor now.
Right, and I said I got to bring you in. I talk to a lot of people, and people struggle to get started in real estate. And then when I talk to someone that has scaled so fast as you have, and you told me it's been 7 years, but to me it still looks like, you did that fast. First of all, I know you were in the medical field. So why real estate investing?
I loved sports when I was younger, and I loved helping people. And so I thought, hey, why not be a physical therapist? So I went to school to be a PT. I went to my undergrad, and while I was doing that, I had a few different jobs. I ended up stumbling into a job in the emergency department, and I loved it. I was like, this is amazing. The thrill of not knowing what's going to happen and being, having to control situations, and it was really eye-opening for me. So instead of doing the PT route, I ended up applying to medical schools and PA schools. Actually, one PA school, and before I heard back from any of the medical schools, I got accepted into the PA school. So at that point, I had a decision to make. Do I wait out and pass up the PA option and go to the medical school, or do I go the PA route? And so I started looking into which one's going to pay off the most. And for me, it was, I'm going to be younger, I'll have less debt, I won't make as much money as a PA, but I'll be able to start my life earlier. So I ended up doing that, got into medicine, really kind of picked up on real estate when it came down to where am I going to live, right? Am I going to stay at my parents' house? Am I going to rent somewhere? And my uncle at the time owned a construction company. And so I ended up hooking up with him, and he was like, he was like, Ryan, do not do any of those. You're going to buy a multifamily house, you're going to live in one unit, and you're going to rent the other out. I'm like, Uncle Mike, I have $5,000. How the heck am I going to do this? Long story short, I ended up buying a two-family. While I was working actually before I even started my PA school, I bought a two-family, fixed it up myself, and then I sold it just before I graduated PA school. So now I'm out as a PA, but I had just walked away with an $80,000 check from a two-family, and I'm like, well, hold on a minute, let's pump the brakes on medicine for a minute. I just made what I'm going to make in a year, really passively for the most part. So I ended up doing that again, and again, and again, and again, and eventually I was able to replace my income in rental properties from my PA income, and then I ended up stepping away.
But one of the things that caught my eye is, on that first deal, you said first deal means nothing and everything.
Yeah.
Right. What do you mean by that?
So the first deal, what I mean by that is it doesn't really matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter, how long it takes you. None of that matters. What matters is that you actually do the first deal. And it means everything, because the knowledge you get from that first deal will not only propel you to the next one, but the next 15, right? Because if you succeed on that first one, you're going to want to do more. So I think the most important thing is you don't want to lose money on the first deal, but even if you do lose a little bit of money, the knowledge you're gaining on that first deal, from creatively financing a deal when you have no money, to actually finding the deal, to working through just an offer agreement and a purchase and sale agreement and amendments and just learning things you just would never learn until you jump in and actually do it. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I have the mentality I'm just going to figure it out along the way. And if you don't have that mentality, you got to figure it out, or you got to partner with somebody, or you have to have a mentor, someone to walk you through the first deal.
But you got to do that first deal.
You have to do the first one. Yeah, you got to do the first one.
Let's talk about that second deal. House hack. What does it mean? Some people, don't really know, and how can people implement it? I know it worked for you really well on that second one.
Yeah, so a house hack's pretty simple. It can even be a single family house. It doesn't have to be a multifamily house. Essentially, you live in the property and you rent an aspect of it out to cover some of your payments, all of your payments, or just a small amount of your payments. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. I have friends that have done single family homes, and they've rented out rooms in their house, and they've covered their entire mortgage, actually better than a multifamily house. So it's actually feasible with a single family. After I sold that duplex, I was still living in my parents' house. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be 24 years old. I got to figure this out. And so I started doing direct mail at that time, as I stumbled upon the idea that if I could communicate with a seller off market, I could sort of control the outcome a little bit more than if I was going through not one agent, but two agents just to get to the seller, to communicate with an on-market property. So ended up stumbling upon a three-family in Fitchburg. 2 units were rented, 1 was vacant. I walked in with my uncle again because I still had no idea what the hell I was doing. I didn't know anything about real estate still, despite that one deal. Ended up buying it. He funded the majority of it. I had to put 40 grand down, which I used from my sale of the duplex. And I was back to almost $0 in my bank account. And fortunately, my girlfriend, wife now, paid for all the rehab to be done in that top unit, which is like 5 or 6 grand at that time. We increased the rents. We lived there. We saved, oh man, like close to 40 grand in like a 4 or 5 month period because we were both working as PAs at that time. And then we sold it and walked away with a $90,000 check. And so really at that point, I'm like, okay, I just house hacked, saved a bunch of money, made almost 200 grand in the last 12 months from selling 2 of these properties. I think I'm onto something here. So
yeah, the concept does work, right? Like this real estate thing actually might work for me.
I think the house hacking, it's buy it, live in it for a while and save a bunch of money. You don't really have to live in it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Mm-hmm. We lived in it for literally 8 months, and we were able to, because we had decent jobs, we were able to save enough money to take that and then go buy a single family house, still have a ton left over to invest in other properties that would then pay for us to live in that single family home. It's uncomfortable, and it truly was uncomfortable. We were on a 3rd floor of a triple decker, and if you know Fitchburg at all, it's not pleasant. So we got to the point where my wife would go for a run. And I'd be like, "You need mace. You need your cell phone on you. You need to be, So, but yeah, it worked out well.
Let's talk about the off-market lead generation. So where did that idea come from?
After I'd bought the first property, I was trying to figure out how I could get the second one.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I probably could have just picked from the MLS and they all would have worked.
Right.
But anyways, at the time, nobody knew that. So I'm like, okay, how can I find good deals? And so I stumbled upon it, people doing direct mail. And so it was the only thing I could do besides cold calling where I could just do it on my own. Like I could get a pen, paper, and a printer and go on ListSource and pull up lists, and I would just handwrite letters. And that's how I stumbled onto the 3 unit. And, I bought that probably $80,000 under what the market value was from just sending letters. And so in the back of my mind at that time, I'm like, if I can scale this up and do, 1 of these or 2 of these a year or 10 of these a year, it's endless, right? Yeah. And so that's where the idea came from. So
I love that. So we did exactly the same time, and probably during the same time you started. And for us was the idea that if I'm buying something on the MLS, I got no equity, right? Because everybody else is outbidding me. Mm-hmm. Now, if we bought on the MLS back then and kept it for a few years, that's fine. We'd have plenty of equity now. But right there and then, I wanted something that I could go in and buy at a discount. So if I'm flipping it, I can make a profit. If I'm refinancing it, it turns into a burst strategy, right? But I like the idea of just going after a property that no one is actually looking at, right?
Right.
And if, like you said, if I want to scale and want to buy 10 properties this year, I can do that. All I got to do is put more marketing dollars towards direct mail.
Yeah. However, doing it off market, and you know this probably better than me almost, is that you really have to know transactions in real estate. You have to know offers, P&Ss. You have to know rules and laws because you don't have somebody holding your hand. You don't have a real estate agent that you're paying a commission to off market to walk you through it.
Good point.
So have a good attorney or partner with an agent or somebody who can walk you through.
Yeah, or get a mentor or get some help obviously because it's hard to figure that out on your own. Something else that caught my attention, and you are very similar to me on this point, is that no construction experience, right? And for some people doing, especially not wholesales, but fix and flips, right? It's that and then not having any money, right? Mm-hmm. So those 2 things are roadblocks for a lot of people. You didn't let that be a roadblock for you.
The no money thing, I've read so much that you can buy real estate without money that I didn't even really, I was like, I'm just going to figure it out, right? So it was raising money. I've raised a ridiculous amount of money because I didn't have money to start. So once I realized that how to raise money, almost every single deal I'm raising money now to purchase for when it's myself or with partners. The no rehab and experience, I am not a handy person.
Right.
That first duplex I bought, that first duplex, I did most of it. I brought my dad, I brought my friends, I'd buy beer and pizza and bring people over. I'm like, this is a full team effort, guys. Because I have no idea what I'm doing. YouTube, 15 trips to freaking Home Depot, and then you forget something, you got to drive. It's a disaster when you're not handy. But I learned how to leverage skills, money, and time from that first deal. And then I was able to take that and say, okay, hey, is the best use of my time actually learning how to plumb? Or is it hiring a plumber, finding the next deal? Because if I can find the next deal, make another $50,000 on a wholesale, or make another whatever it is on a development or flip, I don't care about the $60 an hour job that I'm paying somebody to do when they can do it faster and better than me, and I don't have to be pissed off the entire time I'm doing it.
Right. They're the professionals.
Exactly.
Capital raising. I know you do a ton of it. Tell me a little bit how you handle it. How did you get so good at it? How, why were you able to raise so much money?
Since that first time, it worked out so well that my parents who invested in me first and my uncle were like, "Hey, you just made me money. How about can we do it again?" So they did it again, and then they'll still do it every now and then. But it got to a point where I then I started networking, meeting people like you, other investors, and my thing was finding deals. Yeah. And so if I could bring a deal to them and raise the money, they would run the whole project. And so the first couple larger deals I did, I found the deal. I brought the deal to them and I said, "Hey, I know I can probably raise money. And if you can run the deal, let's partner on it together." And so we kind of went down that rabbit hole for a little bit, and it worked out fantastic, but I learned how to raise money doing that. How do I say this? I think the easiest way to describe it is if you're just a good person in general, you work your ass off at your job, whatever your job is, you do what you say, you are respectful to people. When you have an opportunity and people see that you're working hard at it and they believe in you, they don't even care about the deal. 99% of the people that I've raised money from don't even look at the deal. I have an investor, a buddy of mine, who we actually just bought some restaurants together. So we have to open those.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that, yeah.
He's invested in 4 deals of mine. He doesn't even know one of the addresses. He does not care. He has never Google mapped them. He doesn't care because he knows that I am going to be a good steward of his capital because I do what I say. I'm early for everything. I am on everything is boom, 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 and he knows that. And so, for me, if I'm going to invest in somebody, I'll look at the deal because I know real estate, but if I didn't know real estate, I'd be like, all right, Enis, you're up early every single day. You work hard. You're early to work every single day. Your name is respected. Here's $50,000. Here's $100,000. Invest it. Whatever you got to do. I trust you. Right. And especially for flips, right? If you need to raise 20, 30, 40, I don't mean to belittle the amount of money, but that's a smaller amount of money in the grand scheme of things. If you're going to buy a $50 million deal, okay, maybe it's a little different. But when you're starting off family friend type of money, that's really what it comes from.
Yeah. Tell me about what does the business look like right now?
So right now we've got about 250 rental units, some by myself, some with other people. Yeah. We flip about 15 homes a year, and last year we wholesaled 10. We'll probably wholesale 20 this year. The goal is to do 15 to 20 flips, 15 to 20 wholesales, add another 100 units in multifamily, and then I've got 4 development projects going on that just came out of nowhere that I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm figuring that one out.
Here we go. And that part was what I like the most. It's like, hey, I don't know development, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly. And on the partnerships and networking, one of the guys in that group, I stumbled upon a piece of land from a direct mail piece, and he called me back and said, "Hey, I have 2.4 acres. I don't really know what it's worth. Come take a look." So I called, the guy in my group because I know he's from that town. We walked it together, and he was like, "Dude, we can fit like 7 triplexes on here. It's like a $10 million transaction if we do it, in gross sales." And so next thing you know, we're building 7 triplexes now, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm leveraging again his skill and his knowledge, and we're together we're bringing capital to the table, and we're getting a deal done that I have no business doing.
I got this last part from you from the podcast. What is one actionable steps? I like this a lot that viewers can take away from today, from your experience, from what you learned, that they can implement in their business. It can be someone starting out, it can be honestly someone with experience, whatever.
Yeah.
But what's
all right? I'll give you 2 for people that are in real estate and people who aren't in real estate yet. If you're not in real estate and you're in a W-2 job and you want to get out of it, you need to work your ass off in that job and show everybody that you are the best at that job, because when you leave that job someday, you're going to need all those people. For me, when I was a PA, I was working with doctors and surgeons and nurses. A lot of those people have come back and invested in properties with me or partnered in properties with me. If I wasn't the best freaking PA when I was a W-2, as much as I freaking hated it while I was doing it, none of that opportunity would have been there. So that's step number 1. You got to be the best at what you're doing no matter what it is, even if you hate it. For people that are in real estate, you need to focus on finding deals. Finding deals is the most important thing you can possibly do. So whether that's buddying up with a bunch of agents if you want to go that route, or if it's using direct mail or cold calling or whatever your method's going to be, you need to pick one and become the absolute best at that. Be literally best in class at whatever you're going to do. For me, I chose direct mail, and it's worked out fantastic, not just for deals. I've met partners, agents, attorneys. I've met literally, my whole business has really gone from direct mail to a whole new thing. But yeah, hopefully that helps.
I love it. No, those are all both amazing points. Where can people find out more about you? Where they can reach out? You mentioned the podcast.
Yeah, I've got a podcast. I'm not too consistent with it. Social media, I'm not too consistent with it. But you can reach out on social media. It's RJCORCORAN08 on pretty much all of them. And then Specialized Property Group is my company. We have a social media, a Facebook and Instagram page. We also have a YouTube channel. And feel free to email me as well. It's just ryan@specializedpg.com. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. No, this is exciting. I'm I'm probably going to go rewatch this. There's a lot there that you shared that, apply to my business right now, apply to people starting out.
Yeah.
Guys, again, come to the meetup events, come and talk to guys like Ryan, and comment, like, share, subscribe. Hopefully this was helpful, and I know you shared a ton of tips, but hopefully people will take and implement all that. Catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.